Edward Chapman was born in Detroit, Michigan on December 16, 1946. He began his flying career in 1967 with a $10 Learn to Fly promotion in a Cessna 172. As a Marine aviation candidate, Mr. Chapman learned to fly with the Air Force on an exchange program. His first solo was during this program and earned his Air Force wings. Chapman then transitioned back to the Marines and earned his Navy wings later that year. His first operation squadron was with the Marines in El Toro, flying F-4 Phantom IIs. During Vietnam, his squadron was transferred to Da Nang Air Base to fly combat missions. During the deployment flight, a fuel transfer malfunction forced the squadron's executive officer to return to Okinawa, and Chapman became the flight leader and brought the balance of his squadron to the Philippines and on to Da Nang. Edward earned 4 air medals while a division leader and became an F-4 instructor pilot. After his tour in Vietnam, Mr. Chapman joined the Marine Reserves at Andrews Air Force Base, flying F-4s. He also worked as a charter pilot, flight instructor, chief pilot, and FAA designated check airman while living in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Edward was hired by Braniff International Airways in 1977 and was based in Minneapolis. Just a year later, the turbulent times of deregulation hit, and Mr. Chapman changed airlines 4 different times to include Braniff 1, Braniff 2, Midway Airlines, and finally United Airlines. Captain Chapman flew at United for 15 years. Through 30 years in the airline industry, he was type-rated in the Boeing 727, 737, 757, 767, the Airbus 319 and 320, and the MD-80 and DC-9. As Mr. Chapman settled in Minneapolis, he set trailblazing hot air balloon records, becoming an international award-winning balloon pilot. One of his record-breaking balloon flights, Chapman departed Prior Lake, Minnesota, and reached 38,900 feet in an unpressurized gondola before landing near I-90 in southeastern Minnesota. In 1982, he was the first balloon pilot from the United States to be selected to participate in the prestigious and grueling week-long BP Alpine race in the Austrian Alps. The race requires pilots to fly a maximum distance for 5 consecutive days. Edward won first place in his class. A year later, Captain Chapman was awarded the Diplôme Montgolfier, the bicentennial of manned flight, from the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale for his achievements in high-altitude flight. This is the highest award in ballooning. Fellow recipients include Colonel Joe Kittinger for high-altitude research and Steve Fawcett for his around-the-world solo flight in a gas balloon. Over the course of Mr. Chapman's career in ballooning, he set 20 world records in hot air free balloons, all in Minnesota, while being one of the very few commercially rated for both gas and hot air balloons. Captain Chapman is a trailblazer and adventurer. He demonstrates the desire to always fly in the best way possible. He's also probably one of the only people who can say he flew Mach 0 in a balloon and Mach 2 in an F-4 in the same day. During his flying career, Mr. Chapman has logged 24,800 flight hours and 2,500 hours in hot air balloons. He has worked tirelessly and very enthusiastically to increase ballooning's presence in Minnesota since 1977 by selling balloons, training pilots, organizing balloon rallies, and conducting safety seminars. He's also an expert witness in the field of ballooning for the National Transportation Safety Board. Captain Edward Chapman has been devoted to aviation all of his life, first serving protecting the United States, then as an airline pilot, and finally as a world-renowned balloonist. His world records are astonishing, and his commitment to increasing balloons' presence in Minnesota is second to none. Edward Chapman is an excellent pilot and very deserving inductee into the Minnesota Aviation Hall of Fame.